on the war and flip it from the Zelensky perspective. Is there an end game that the Ukrainians see? Because, Zelensky's saying, look, there's no end game, even we'll take Crimea, which even for the West has been a red line. What's their end game?
It's important to recognize that Zelensky and NATO have very aligned strategic perspectives right now, but not in any way identical. And the United States in particular really wants the alliance to stay together. And so to the extent that there is going to be any daylight between the US and Ukraine going forward, they don't want that daylight to in any way jeopardize the unity of NATO, which is an enormously important thing. So how do you nudge the Ukrainians into the outcome that you want and reduce the likelihood of escalation that spirals out of control with the Russians, while not undermining your relationship with Ukraine and weakening the alliance? So far, what the West and the US in particular have chosen to do has been to slow roll some of the military support that they are giving the Ukrainians while giving them maximum diplomatic coverage. In other words, telling the Ukrainians, hey, when you decide to engage with diplomacy, it's completely on you, 100%. You will decide the terms. We'll have no influence. We'll just support you. But you want those Patriot systems? Well, that's going to take some time. And the ammunition, well, we're going to give you some. We're not going to give you everything. Long range, don't want to give you everything long range, right? But what they're trying to do is help the Ukrainians take back their territory, but not give them the capacity to launch deep strikes into Russian territory, or even particularly to take back Crimea, which, I mean, diplomatically, the United States would completely support the idea that Crimea is Ukrainian territory. It was taken. It was annexed illegally by Russia. But there's no one inside the United States that thinks it's a good idea for the Ukrainians to have the military capabilities and the political intention to take that territory, because it could lead to nuclear war. If you're Zelensky and your economy has just contracted, not by the 4% of Russia in 2022, but by 40%, and there's a lot greater threats to Zelensky's ability to stay in power still than there is to Putin, because of that economic reality, because of the military reality, because of the need to try to keep together a country that's fighting courageously against an invading country that's so much more powerful than they are. I mean, Zelensky's fighting for life right now. And his willingness to take risks that the Americans far away would consider intemperate, but the Ukrainians, with 8 million refugees and tens of thousands of war crimes committed against them, think are absolutely the only thing they could be doing, never mind demanding reparations and, war crimes trials and all the rest. Of course, that's a reasonable thing for the Ukrainians to ask for, but it's not a reasonable thing for the Americans to provide. And in 2023, we will start to see more tensions, more pressure on that, not to divide the alliance. I don't think that's going to happen, but certainly to make the potential for escalation greater on both sides.